Why? Because it feels so goddamn good.
Hey, what's up everybody? It's Prone here and welcome to the premiere episode of Prone's Picks, where I'll be talking to you about some of my favorite lesser known and lesser favored movies and filmmakers. The idea of these videos or this show is to help put you onto some new-ish to watch whilst in ISO, or even just help you remember some of your old favorites from when you were a kid. On today's episode, I'll be talking about my all-time favorite top 5 best of the best Canon movies. Now, Canon Films started in the late 60s as a softcore porn company, but due to a string of unsuccessful outings at the box office, they were forced to sell to Israeli cousins, Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus. Golan and Globus, along with having cinema releases, really tapped into the direct-to-video market with their shameless approach to pumping out B-grade copycat movies and capitalizing on the current trends in cinema of the time.
A true ninja doesn't kill, he eliminates, and only for defensive purposes.
Although Canon dabbled in most genres of film, I guess they were mostly known for their action and exploitation films, which often starred some really big name actors of the time. For example, Chuck Norris, Sylvester Stallone, Charles Bronson towards the end of his career. Guys like that, a lot of action stars. Faye Dunaway even turned up in a Canon film.
I can't stand people. I hate them.
Anyway, I could go on about Canon films all day, but there's actually a really good documentary about Canon and their wild and wonderful exploits. It's called Electric Boogaloo, The Wild Untold Story of Canon Films from 2014, and you can catch that on Amazon Prime. And actually, I think you can buy it direct from Umbrella Entertainment as well. There's a DVD and Blu-ray release there. But all right, let's get down to it. Now, I just want to say that by no means are these the best movies that Canon produced. These are just my top personal 5 favorites. Okay, so coming in at number 5, we've got the 1989 cyberpunk post-apocalyptic sci-fi actioner starring the one and only Jean-Claude Van Damme, Cyborg. Van Damme plays a mercenary who helps a cyborg named Pearl deliver a cure for the plague whilst being chased by a murderous group of psychopathic cyberpunks led by Vincent Klin, aka Warchild from Point Break.
Back off, Warchild, seriously.
Now, is Cyborg a good movie? Well, not in the way that, say, The Master or Parasite are good, but it's still good in its own charming sort of way. Well, Cyborg really has great costume, set, and overall production design. The set was actually supposed to be for Masters of the Universe 2, which the director of Cyborg, Albert Pyun, was initially slated to direct. But for me, the movie's greatest strength are its action scenes and fight choreography. Whilst not at the level of Hong Kong action or even some of the top tier American stuff, Cyborg's action's choreographed and storyboarded fairly well. Anyway, I highly recommend this one, especially if you're into low budget action or sci-fi stuff, movies from this period, and just movies with Van Damme in it. Coming in at number 4, we have 1987's American Ninja 2, The Confrontation.
American Ninja 2, The Confrontation.
Okay, now this one continues Canon's infatuation with super ninjas played by Caucasian men, usually with no ninja ability. We've got the always amazing Steve James back again with Mr. American Ninja himself, Michael Dudikoff, so you know we are already off to a good start. This time our heroes are posted at a naval base on a remote Caribbean island, most likely shot in the Philippines. Once there, Joe and Jackson notice that several Marines have been disappearing over the last few months and decide to investigate. Now, this leads them to our supervillain, the Lion, who kidnapped a local scientist and mass-produced an army of muted ninja warriors that he made out of Marines that he stole from bars and shit. Sounds crazy, right? And you know what? It is crazy. The movie is fucking bonkers. If you're looking for a slick, well-produced, realistic action movie, then look elsewhere. But if you're looking for a fun, campy, ambitious action movie from that period, then you can't go wrong with American Ninja 2. And also, Steve James is in it, and Steve James makes everything awesome. Number 3, we have 1985's Lifeforce. Lifeforce is directed by one of my favourite genre directors, the late great Tobe Hooper. It's a wonderful mashup of sci-fi, action and horror. On its initial release, it was a huge commercial financial flop for Canon Films and almost bankrupted the company. But over the years, it's really found a cult following, especially with some recent Blu-ray releases. On a joint space mission between America and Britain, they come across an alien spacecraft with a bunch of humanoids on board. The astronauts take them back to Earth, and soon Dr. Hans Fallada and his team discover that the humanoid girl is a space vampire that drains the life force from people. She transforms them into crazed zombies, infecting the population and plunging society into apocalyptic chaos. Sounds fun, right? The special effects are great, and the levels of destruction and chaos are really high. Look, the plot might not make a hell of a lot of sense, and you might have to suspend a little bit of belief here and there, but if you just roll with the punches, I think you're gonna have a good time with it. Coming in at number 2, we have 1986's action classic, Cobra.
Hey, just relax, amigo. You want to talk? We'll talk. I'm a sucker for good conversation.
Now, if you haven't seen Cobra, then you'd at least recognize the poster art. It's a pretty iconic poster that I noticed straight away when I was a kid at the video store and immediately wanted to hire it out. It's Sly holding a machine gun, wearing aviators and chewing a matchstick. It's one of the most iconic action movie posters of all time, not just the 80s. Sylvester Stallone's a badass cop that doesn't play by the rules. He finds himself at the center of a series of murders carried out by a gang of neo-fascists called the New Order. A model named Ingrid, played by Bridget Nielsen, witnesses a murder by the New Order and goes into protective custody. Stallone and Nielsen, who were dating at the time, are then chased by the gang until they take a stand in a violent, bloody showdown. Major nostalgia vibes for me, Cobra. Absolutely loved it as a kid, saw it a million times, hired it out a million times, taped it off TV, all that sort of stuff. And then in the art house early 20s period of my life, I fell out of love with movies like this, but rediscovered it again probably 10 years ago. I was having a few beers and came across it and just realized its brilliance. It's directed by the ultra-talented George P. Cosmatos, who's responsible for other genre classics such as Rambo 2 and Tombstone. Fun fact, George's son Panos also directed the 2018 cult hit and my favorite movie of that year, Mandy. So if you haven't seen Mandy, do yourself a favor, check that out ASAP.
Hey, dirtbag. You're a lousy shot.
There's some really great lighting and cinematography going on here, but for me the selling point has got to be the laugh out loud dialogue and the amazing action sequences. It's definitely a great movie to watch with a group of friends and a few bevies. You can also check it out on Netflix. Cobra is streaming on Netflix currently. Coming in at number 1, we have the underground fighting feel-good movie of the year, 1988's JCVD, starring Bloodsport.
Bloodsport, the true story of the ultimate champion.
Loosely, and I do mean loosely, based on the story of Frank Dukes, an American soldier and ninjutsu master who goes AWOL from the army to participate in an underground martial arts tournament called the Kumite. Shot on a budget of approximately $2 million, Bloodsport grossed $65 million at the box office, making it one of Canon's most successful films. Along with being a large financial success, Bloodsport was also a huge hit with action and martial arts genre fans, and it's widely regarded as one of Jean-Claude Van Damme's best roles. I think one of the main reasons that I fell in love with this movie is that it had all the different fighters and their fighting styles from all different parts of the world. It made it feel like a kind of real-life Street Fighter. There's just something really charming about the Frank Dukes character. He's just really easy to get behind, and you just want him to fight to survive! I honestly think that I watched this movie close to 100 times as a kid. Absolutely loved it then, and I still love it today. I seriously watch it every 6 months or so. Even if I'm just feeling sad or depressed, I'll chuck it on. It makes me feel better, and honestly, I think it'll make you feel better too.
First fight in the Kumite, broke the fucking world record! Yeah!
Bloodsport, to me, is the definition of an 80s action cult classic. It's also a really good gauge of a Canon film, and it's not just one of my favorite Canon films, or my favorite Canon film, but it's one of my favorite films all time. You can catch Bloodsport streaming on Stan at the moment, or it's pretty cheap to buy anyway. Okay, so I've got some honorable mentions here as well. Like I said before, Canon, they were really known for a lot of their DTV stuff, direct-to-video, but they also pumped out some quality films as well. So here's a couple of honorable mentions.
But their train to freedom was out of control.
I don't know what happened, but there's no engineer on this train. There's nobody on this train but us.
You mean you don't have any money?
No money, no job, no rent. Hey, back to normal.
Well, that's it, homies. Thanks for checking out the first episode of Prone's Picks. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like and subscribe button, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll catch you next time. Peace.